Something happened to you in the last few years. Maybe you can name it exactly. Maybe it's more of a feeling. You're not recovering the way you used to. You're a little slower to get going in the morning. The work that used to feel easy now takes a little more out of you. And you've probably told yourself a story about why. More stress than usual, not sleeping well, or just getting older. Those explanations feel true. They might even be partially right, but they're probably not the real reason. The real reason is something I call the drift. It's not a dramatic drop, not an injury, not a diagnosis, not a crisis. It's a gradient. Capacity, physical and cognitive, declines slowly, consistently, and almost entirely below the threshold of daily awareness. You don't notice it day to day because the change from Monday to Tuesday is too small to feel. You notice it when you compare this year to 2 years ago, or when something that used to be automatic suddenly requires effort. That gap between who you were and who you are now, that's the drift. And here's what makes it dangerous. It feels like aging. It presents like aging. Everyone around you is experiencing the same thing, so it gets normalized. But it's not inevitable. It's what happens in the absence of a system precise enough to catch it. The people most at risk of the drift are not the ones you'd expect. It's not the sedentary person who never trained. That person often knows they have a problem. It's the high performer. And I know this because I was one of them. As I said in episode 1, I spent 6 years building one of the largest CrossFit facilities in the world. I was surrounded by serious training every single day. I coached it, I built the culture around it, and I was participating regularly at a high level. But somewhere in my mid-50s, I started noticing things. Not big things, small ones. The sessions that used to take 2 days to recover from were now taking 4. My output, the watts I could sustain, the loads I could move, had quietly plateaued. My reaction speed in complex drills was slower than I expected. And I was doing what every high performer does. I was attributing it to everything except the real cause. I've been traveling a lot. Work has been intense. I'm just getting older. This is what 55 feels like. The problem was I had no baseline. I had years of hard training and zero precise data. I didn't know what my force output actually was. I didn't know my aerobic efficiency numbers. I had no neural assessment, no composite picture. I was managing one of the most important systems of my life entirely on feel. That's when I started building what became the Prime Project. Not because I was broken, because I realized I had no idea where I actually stood, and neither did anyone else. When high performers notice something is off, they almost always reach for the wrong explanation. Stress, sleep, age, these aren't wrong exactly, they're incomplete. Attributing capacity decline to those things without measuring what's actually happening is like attributing a business decline to the economy without looking at your own numbers. Maybe the economy is part of it, but you don't know what part. And you can't fix it without knowing where the real problem is. When you blame stress, you try to manage stress. When you blame sleep, you try to sleep more. When you blame age, you accept it. And none of those responses addresses what's actually happening in your body. So, what does the drift look like when you actually measure it? Here's what we see consistently when high-performing adults 40 and over come into the lab for the first time. Force production, the ability to generate and express force rapidly, what we call rate of force development, declines by roughly 1% per year after 40 without a specific intervention to address it. Most people have no idea this is happening because they're not measuring it. They're measuring whether they can still lift the same weight. Well, that's the wrong question. Aerobic efficiency, not whether you can finish a workout, but how much useful output you produce per heartbeat. This number tells you how well your cardiovascular system is actually functioning under load. In most people who come to us, it's lower than their perceived fitness level would suggest. They feel fit. The number says otherwise. Reaction speed. This one surprises people more than anything else. Neural response time, how fast you process and respond to a stimulus, starts declining in the late 30s. By the time most people are in their 50s, the degradation is measurable and significant. But because it happens slowly, nobody notices until something makes it obvious. None of these are catastrophic in isolation. Together, compounding over years, they produce exactly the feeling you've been trying to explain. The good news, and this is the part that most people don't hear, is that all three of these are trainable. Force production responds to specific load protocols. Aerobic efficiency responds to precise interval work. Reaction speed responds to targeted neural training. The drift is not a sentence, it's a signal. And when you know what it's telling you, you can do something about it. That's what this show is about. Not just measuring so you know exactly where to apply the work. The system that comes after the baseline, the sessions, the protocols, the progression, that's what moves the numbers. And we're going to cover all of it. Next episode, why the gap for most people isn't motivation or time. You don't have a fitness problem, you have a measurement problem. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember, we're building maximum capacity right now at this age.